This is Just Listen, hosted by George Goodman live. Good morning. Today is July 13th, 2026. Welcome to the podcast. It is a Monday, and I am excited to be with you. All right, so let's get to what we want to talk about in Illinois. We are, let's see, August, September, October, November, roughly 120 days until the mid elections. Now, I want to lead with something that I was very curious about. So, the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about how I haven't heard anything in Illinois from the Secretary of State candidate or the Attorney General on the Republican side. So, I did a search just to see in general if are campaigning at all. They haven't been on TV. And as far as I know, my perception is that is important because you can reach a mass audience. Okay. So I searched for it and said, oh, yeah, Attorney General, Secretary of State are uh, campaigning. Okay. So that's good. So here's what happens next. So it says voter resources. For the latest updates on candidates' campaign events or localized voter tracking, you can consult resources provided by the public organizations or the state. So when I do the governor and the senator, the search doesn't come up like that. That's my point. These guys are not getting any press, especially on the Republican side. And I went back and I looked. The attorney general last time around won huge on the Democrat side and on the Republican side. So I don't know what kind of strategy the state parties have on the Republican side, but I think that they need to rethink that. All right. So you've got all of these resources to actually go out there and find it. Now, besides me, who else is looking to see these candidates? Right? Because when I asked people and I talk to people, they don't even know who the attorney general is. Or, well, they do know who the Secretary of State is, and they recently found out that Secretary of State controls the library systems in Illinois. But that's all that people know is that. Now, the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, they set a lot of the laws that go in Illinois, yet the regular people don't even know if they're running. All right. So the attorney general is actually the incumbent. And like I told you, he won huge last time. I until I went and voted 4 years ago, I didn't even know who it was. So that is a problem because we don't know what this guy's done, but I've told you to go out to the websites and look at these candidates. All right. So, and in both of the primaries on the Democratic side, they ran unchallenged in the primaries. So that is a bad sign for the Republicans who actually did a primary and the party fate and voted. And it wasn't huge numbers because I was trying to convince people in the Republican Party to go out there and show some numbers because I think that if you get the other side saying, "Wow, they had 800,000 people who voted," we really need to look at what we're saying and doing. But when we do nothing and don't that mean people vote in the primary? Well, why would they spend money? So that is something to think about for sure. So what else is going on in Illinois? Okay, so as you know, the legislature is on break and the candidates are actively talking campaign ethics, legality, and ballot maneuverings. The reason that they're talking about campaign is because there is a Democrat that just got indicted on federal charges, and not my job to tell you who it is, but when you can Google it and find out misuse campaign funds and state grants. That's pretty serious. And then there's been some sexual harassment resignations. And I mentioned this on Friday. We have to look at the policies in the House, in the state, in the legislature. And yes, they should punish people who do wrong things, but that's not a rallying cry to say, hey, these guys did wrong, so now you need to vote for Republicans. The way that is done is you look at the policy, and if your big ticket ones, the statewide, like the attorney general, the governor, and all them are talking about it, people don't necessarily care about that. They care about stuff that's going to affect their lives. Now, there's a ballot challenge going on too, and something called Choi Grace Under Fire. In the congressional races, Democratic Representative Choi Garcia is facing criticism from political opponents as his team deploys ballot signature challenge to knock rivals off the ticket. All right, so that's the infighting, right? So that's that's definitely infighting, but you can decide if that's an issue for you or not. Definitely in that district, that would be an issue. But what is this guy running on? And remember, what are his policies and why are they so bogged down into that? Gubernatorial disputing. In the race for governor, the Republican nominee, Darren Bay's campaign is actively trying to block the new independent candidate. Well, as far as I know, that's settled. And honestly, if you're running as an independent, don't worry about it. Even if he was a former Republican, it doesn't matter. Look at what his policies are and focus on that. And they're going to waste money on this, but no commercials. Like that's really going to sway a lot of people. So you figure that out. Now, the legislature, like I told you, did AI and digital regulations. So they were landmark according to the governor and the Democratic legislature, and they aim to protect consumer data and mitigate algorithmic risk. Okay. And as I told you, that's probably those types of things end up in court. And sometimes it takes a while because the Democrat is the attorney general. So if the Republican was the attorney general, they can challenge it right away. That's why I say if you're looking for a strategy, if you want loss challenge on the Republican side, you look at the attorney general. Utility, transparency, and housing. All right. So this is a kitchen table issue. Are leaning into kitchen table economic victories, pointing to newly signed legislation for energy bill price transparency and progress on statewide affordable housing initiatives. But on both of those, like I say, federal poverty level in most cases is what it's based on. And if you're not familiar with that term or listening to my podcast, what that means is that the federal government and the states follow it too because they get federal money that to qualify, you have to make a certain amount of money. And it looks like the federal poverty level, it leans more toward if you've never been married and you have children. So you figured that out. So if you Google federal poverty level, you will see what I'm saying. And I'm not making that up or being biased one way or the other. That is the fact. So, what's the energy bill pricing? All right. So, basically, the energy bill transparency is talking about, regulations, and also a discount program for low economic electric and natural gas customers. Okay, so define who's low income, which, if you look at the article, it says you have to be 300% under the federal poverty level. See, I told you. And most times you have to dig into the details to find that out. So most of the savings and the breaks for the utility bill and uh, those types of things, they're going for 300% poverty level. So I want you to go out there and see what that is. So that's probably making like $20,000 to $25,000 a year under that. And that's why we need to get into the weeds on some of this stuff. But that's just an example. Because on the surface, oh yeah, great, we're all going to get a deal. No, we're all not going to get a break, unfortunately. So please go out to these candidates' websites and read information about them so that you can form your own opinion. Okay, so guys, that is it for the Monday. I have been brief, like I promised you, brief and to the point, because that's what works. So, like I said, we're about 120 days out from the midterm elections. Please go out and look at your candidates and also go and see the new laws. I just did a podcast about high magazines and these assault weapons. Please check that out. There's some information out there that is very interesting and is clear, concise, and to the point, like I promised you. And the reason that I did that one now is Illinois just got the U.S. Federal Court of Appeals to uphold their ban on assault weapons and high capacity magazines. So you need to see how you feel about that. Listen to my podcast to get some insight on that. All right. So this is Just Listen, hosted by George. Great day. And I'll be back on Friday. And have a great week. And everyone be nice to each other.